Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to the last video in the build series where I take my daughter's guitar, which was insanely heavy and just uncomfortable, and I have completely reinvented the instrument. Burn it. Haha, yay! It was a fairly standard, albeit weighty, Crimson Guitars kit. It was one of the prototypes, made just solid English ash, and 10 pounds and 4 ounces. Yep, that is most assuredly too heavy. But the end result is that I've taken it, drilled a bunch of holes, removed a load of weight, and then, in keeping with the original blue and purple theme, I have sprayed it in the last episode with a flip-flop purple to blue finish. And today we put her together. As you can see, we don't have a perfect finish as of yet. So that's going to need to be flattened and buffed, which is going to be a long old process. I am still considering silver leafing the inside of every single one of these holes, or maybe I need to just leave it. I don't know. I still don't know. We're here at the day when I was going to do it. But you know what? A decision will be made. Tell you what, I'll ask my daughter. A carbon fiber scratch plate was made in the last episode, as well as some pretty cool, in my opinion, custom control knobs made out of some dome head hex bolts. And I enjoyed that. That was a standalone video. Enough talking, enough prattling, enough rattling on. Let's get on with the build. While the decisions are being made, let us take this baby apart. There was no reason to take these control knobs off, at all. Don't know what I was thinking. Okay, we need a logo on this at some point. That will come later, but for now I'm going to grab some water, some 1200 grit wet and dry paper, and let's go for it. Maybe 800, depends on how not flat this is. If the paper is actually wet and has been kept wet for a while before you use it, it cuts better and lasts longer. I'm procrastinating. This is not the most fun of tasks. I mean, it's not fun. I should probably put something in there to reduce water going into the body. Fret end cutters, most useful. Okay. There's not a huge amount of water going into these smaller holes. I could put grub screws in them, which would be below the level of the water. Let me know in the comments what you would do in this situation. Probably not drill it beforehand. I'm going to put some grub screws in, just because it seems like a cool thing to do. At this stage, I'm going to stop filming because this could get rather boring. I'm actually having a blast, so I take back my earlier negative comments about rubbing down lacquer. It's a little bit scary, always, but we're good. I started at 1200 grit. I could have gone coarser, which would have saved me some time, but I always worry. I'd rather spend a little bit longer and run less risk of going through. Flatten the entire instrument down to 1200 grit, and at the moment you can see I'm going every which way. As a final pass across the whole thing, I'm going to go in one direction with the 1200. I will then go to 1500 grit and then 2000 grit in a different direction. At the end of each of those grits, I will then go in a different direction, so that if I see scratches going lengthways on the guitar, I'll know, oh my gosh, that's from the 1200, I need to go to the 15. If I end up at 2500 grit or so, and I've got scratches from the 1200 grit, I know that I'm not spending enough time on all the interstitial bits and pieces. This is a truly meditative process, and if it goes well, and if you've left the lacquer to cure long enough, which we have, much to your chagrin, I apologise, yeah, we should be good. So, onwards. That was about an hour and a half of handwork, and that whole guitar body is now flat and sorted and done and dusted. It's absolutely ready for the next stage. I've gone 1200 grit, wet and dry, and I used 2 tiny little segments of paper. If you are worried about this process, you should be. Of course, it's fraught with danger, but if it goes well, it's not that bad. I am going to attack the neck now with the same paper, then move on to 1200, move on to 1500 grit, 2000 grit, 2500, and then buff it at headquarters. On we go. Here we go. End of the day, I've spent roughly 2.5 hours rubbing down the guitar. We've gone to 2500 grit, and well, off to Crimson headquarters tomorrow to buffer up, and then we're good. Oh yeah. Doing these bits here, and I figured I might as well have my facial expression if it destroys itself. I'm also struggling to not put my fingers in the holes, because if it rips it out of my hands, well, it's going to take some fingers with it. I have to constantly stop myself from doing that. Silly, isn't it? partway there. I'm just degreasing, getting rid of the polishing compound so I can see where I need to go back over, and we'll be good. I really should have beveled those holes over a lot more. I was not thinking ahead. Past me sucks. By gum, I think we've done it. I haven't buffed this to the fullest extent that it can be. I've still got a bunch of silver leafing to do, among other things. And I also have the ultra mega versatile multi-use guitar polish here, which I'm just going to hit the guitar with now, for fun. Coming together. The time has come for silver leafing. The original thought was maybe we were going to gold leaf inside here. Before that, it was staining pink, but silver and blue and purple, that just works better, and it is also the hardware's chrome. So I've got some gold size. This is a 1 to 2 hour size. You paint it on with a delicate brush, and after a while, depending on the temperature that you're in, I've got the heater going, it starts to dry. You're after a squeaking size, so when you run your finger along it, it squeaks. It either feels wet, or it squeaks, or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, it's dry and your leaf isn't going to adhere. So this is not actually a process to be scared of. It's quite cool. Now, I've sanded down the inside of all of these holes. I am not going for a perfect finish. If I wanted a perfect finish, I would have painted a whole bunch of gesso or primer, etc. inside all the holes and then sanded each one of them down to perfection beforehand. We are going to have grain. We are going to have inclusions and interesting bits. And, yeah. Anyway. I've done about half of them. The first one is starting to cure, and I'm worried that the time it takes me to silver leaf the insides of these is going to mean that by the time I get to the last one, it'll be too dry. So I'm going to stop here, and we'll take a breather. So I'm going to start with some of this smaller stuff. I'm not sure where I even found it. There we go. It's a tiny silver leaf. Shouldn't touch it with my fingers. Ah, fail. Fail at the first. All right. I knew this was going to be awkward inside of a hole, but yeah, this is worse than I thought. Yeah. No, I'm going to have to cut these up into much thinner strips than this even. Nope. Oh, so you've fallen into something that's already got the... Okay. Come on. There we go. That's what we want. I need small sections. Come on. Okay. At this point, my stubbornness and available time for this is clashing. I love how bright and properly metallic the actual silver leaf looks, but I think I just need to get some chrome paint. I'm 6 holes into like nearly 100, I think, and it's been far too long. Okay, recoup, adjust, change the goalposts. We're good. We're gonna finish this guitar today. Not my today, your today. Here we are, dropping stuff. What is this? Direct to rust metal paint, Hammerite smooth silver. I just couldn't face it. I just couldn't face it. So let's do a little bit of tidying up and do some painting. So this is now all cured and dried properly. Pull up the excess. It would have looked cool. Not at that amount of time. I'm gonna blow out the excess with the compressor. Just get rid of that entirely. Life is full of direction changes. Guitar building in particular. Ooh. All right, that compressor, it's a nasty compressor. Crimson 10, a tenner off your isotunes. One of my best, most favorite, most awesome tools. Most useful. Okay, so there's actually still some silver leaf here that's worth saving. The rest of this is rubbish, and then we can move on. Easy. Let's start on the back, shall we? That's half done. I've been careful not to drip through to the workbench because that would then stick the front and just destroy everything. I'm still not sure which would have been the most efficient order of operations here. But you know what? Doesn't matter. I'm enjoying the results. Back tomorrow. Go from the other side. We're dry, we're good. And yeah, we're starting to see what this is gonna look like. It is not shiny enough, not silver enough, but I have a solution. For now though, I've got another side to paint, so in we go. Nearly there, nearly there. I bought some paintbrushes actually as well. There you go. Too big? Too big. Poop. All right, fine. Back to the old one. Yeah, that feels right. So if I use masking tape to mask this off, I'll end up with perfect lines. But that wouldn't actually look really good. These sort of feel like they've been melted into the top. And I've got something fun planned as well. It's going to be cool. So this took a lot longer than I thought it would, even just sitting in there and painting all of these holes, but I couldn't be happier. I'm really, really happy with how this is turning out. Now the lacquer is softer. In fact, as a result of working with this, I've actually changed the lacquer that we use at headquarters. So we're going for a higher solids thing. It's also not quite as shiny as I want. Internally, the silver isn't quite as shiny as I want. I'm going to go with some, well, Adam Savage calls it Rub and Buff, which is the brand over there. I have got something else by Dalla and Rowney. What's it even called? Here we go. Goldfinger. Ha ha! No, I'm going to paint that on. This is too imprecise in such a precise hole. And sort of once it's cured, you go in and you buff it up. And you get a very nice metallic effect. So this stuff is a wax with, I suppose, mica powder inside. And as it dries, you can buff it up and get a really metallic kind of a sheen to it. A bit messy, but it's going to be cool. Also filling little gaps and crevices and things, and yeah, it's going to be fun. Back to the gloves. Now there's going to be a mess on the side, and it'll all polish off at the end. And the buffer is going to come over and get rid of that. Would have been easier if I'd sprayed high quality silver shiny spray paint and then masked off all the holes individually. Time consuming, but better. And then done the outer layers and then lacquered it. But I didn't. Here we are. What can I say? I make some questionable life choices sometimes. It's been a few hours. That should have all cured. Let's buff it up, shall we? Internally. Fluffy. This is a cheap, very cheap buffing machine, and it actually does the job. Now this is starting to come together. All right, cool. So I've got the sort of number 5 Menzerner finishing compound. It's the sort of top of the top of the top. Well, that was loud. Obviously had the ISO tunes in. Crimson 10, get 10% off. I'm not as happy with the actual lacquer used, but the finish that I've got and the look, yeah, we're there. End of this day, put it together next. Yeah. Let the fun begin. Of course, the masking tape's been left on a little bit too long and it's leaving sticky patches. I hate it when there are sticky patches left. At this point, I'm looking at these dots and thinking, we can do better. I'm also thinking that that deserves an entire video on its own, so that went live a while ago. In the next little bit, some time would have passed, and we'll be moving on with the fret level crown and polish. All right, magic, huh? What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a notched straight edge, use that to adjust the neck, the truss rod, so that the fretboard is absolutely perfectly straight. I'm then going to mask off the fretboard. I'm then going to hit the frets with a permanent marker, and then I will use a fret leveling beam with 320 grit, fairly warm 320 grit paper on it. That will level the frets so that we take off all of the marker that has been on the top. Most of these frets are absolutely perfectly fine, and the Sharpie line is nice and fine and beautiful. A few need actual crowning before I start sanding and polishing and all that. So we're going to go on with the crowning file and get on with it. Using a much finer file, this is the fret end finishing file, I go over the same spots and just get rid of the coarser crowning files scratches. .240, wrapped around a finger or your fret rubber. Medium thread rubber. Fine. Super fine. And now onto a buffing wheel because it's fast. Jeweler's Rouge, not something you want to breathe in.
Okay, on to the final finish, which is, in this case, white compound. Much finer. It's the same as when you're sanding a guitar. You start at the coarse grit and you go fine.
Well, there we go. Supremely shiny, very flat frets, and we can start putting this guitar together. On with the fretboard restorative. We might as well do this before the guitar goes, before the neck and body become one. Wipe away the excess, and we can move on. These are all a little bit dirty, so I'm just cleaning all the chrome. I'm going in reverse here to clean the excess out without ripping. Very cool little tool. I should probably be using a socket, but hey. The truss rod access is looking a little bit shitty, so I'm going to paint that with the sapphire grain enhancing filler. There we go. Okay. Set that aside for now. And on to the fun bit. At this stage, I'm coming to the conclusion that I'm a bit of a fool. I have got to use some shielding paint, or at least I've got to shield the instrument. Now, the cavity, that's fine. I'm a bit of a fool because I should have done this beforehand. This stuff takes a little while to dry and I need to leave it till tomorrow. So I'm going to do that. We're going to paint the inside of the cavity black. There is no shielding in between the back of the humbucker and the spring bath, I suppose you would want to call it, from the trim, and that can cause feedback. So I'm going to need to think about that shortly. I also removed where my screws want to go, which is normally there. So I'm going to need to use some really long screws underneath the neck to hold my springs in place. This might affect the sound somehow. Interesting, nonetheless. You're going to be able to see this from inside. I would rather see aluminium foil than a roughly hand-painted surface. So, foil on the back of the scratch plate, paint inside. We're done. I've been toying with the idea of bluing these control knobs. That's something we could do at a later date. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's quite cool. That's mostly cured, and I'm impatient. Remember, we put grub screws in all of these holes so that water wouldn't get into the wood. We need to take them out now. At this point, I realise why I should not have come down to work after my kids have gone to sleep, and that is because I am not fully functional. I need to take the entire scratch plate off so that I can drill the holes way back in to the neck plate for the springs. You fool. I'll be back in the morning. Then this guitar will be finished. The other benefit is that I'll actually be able to play it, and we'll see if these slugs that I put in the humbucker will actually work or not. I suspect not. Good night. Scary. Yeah, that's the only option I've got. Bendy. This is a tool I don't actually use very often. But it has a party trick that might actually come in useful. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's not quite at the right angle. There we go. Look at that. Okay. I knew this would come in handy one day in an actual real world situation. I need to find some long... looks like somebody's broken a leg really badly. I need some long screws. That's what I need. All right, so these are just standard 100mm wood screws. Pretty much perfect length. Don't look ideal, so I'm going to put them in my normal drill. Aha! And hit them on some sandpaper. Polish the ends up. That'll do nicely. Oh no. I think that'll do. Thank you, little buddy. All right, so here's a quick tip. And it took a student, it was somebody in the comments actually suggested that instead of soldering to the top of the claw where you can see it, and anybody can see it, especially if you don't have a back plate, you should solder to the back. I cannot believe in circa 20 years of doing this, I've never once considered doing that. So yeah, I'm going to try and clean this claw up, get this off, and wow, that's nasty. Yeah, I'm not sure who stuck this on there, but bloody hellfire. Forget it, extreme desoldering. Progress. Strap buttons. Puppies. Hey, how you doing? Bye-bye now. My earth sucks. Okay, so what's happened here is I have hooked my ground wire from the back of the trim to the shielded cable of the pickup, but I'm not entirely sure if that is actually hooked up to the ground properly, and this then brings me to my pet peeve about Strat type instruments. I have to take all the strings off and do that. The whole thing again, take the whole freaking cavity off. So annoying. However, I am going to be coming back to this guitar in another episode because this headstock is looking very, very boring. In the next episode, I am going to create a Fender style logo, but with my daughter's name because this is her guitar. And by then I will have taken the whole thing apart for the third time and fixed the wiring. As it currently stands, it feels resonant and lightweight, looks absolutely mind-blowingly cool. I am so happy with how this instrument looks. And we started out with a weight of 4.666 kilograms or 10 pounds 4 ounces. Let's see what we've got here. So there's the scales. Isn't that gorgeous? Power. So pounds and ounces, we're going from 10 pounds 4 ounces at the beginning to a total of 7 pounds 8 ounces. That's math. I still don't know how many ounces in a pound. 3.4 kilograms. We have taken off 1.2, 1.25 kilograms of weight. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So we've saved 2.75 pounds. We have saved 1.2 kilograms of weight by doing a huge amount of work. We have also ended up with a guitar that is utterly unique, something that most people are not going to replicate, and something that I sincerely hope my daughter is incredibly happy with. Now, I have gone through this whole process with her. Every single change, every single update, every single addition has been talked over and discussed at length. And, well, here we are. It is what it is. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Come back for the next video where I add probably 25 grams worth of weight with a custom solid aluminium or solid silver decal, or not decal, it's not an inlay because I'm laying it on the top. Decal's probably best. Yeah. I'm very happy. Let me know what you think. Goodbye. How much do the knobs weigh? A bit. Seriously, I've just realised that we have actually done what we wanted to. It's under 8 pounds. Come back for the next episode. Bye-bye. Yeah. That sounded fake. That sounded like a fake laugh. It's 4 minutes past 1. I've only had 2 cups of coffee and no lunch. Hard times.